All right, I am going to finish up this Matchless dirt box, and I'm doing some special shielding runs, which allows me to have the ground on this very small wire without having to deal with the bulky braided wire, because I got to do all this stuff to a switch with real estate is at a premium and things are small. This is what the final version looks like. This is the input red, and the output, which will be blue. This is where you see how it works. So you've got the conductor, and the center conductor is insulation, this black layer stripped back, and then the braid soldered to the small wire. And then that just goes over the top. And it argues with me because I'm on camera. Anyway, that slides over. And I think this one shrank a little bit from proximity to the heat from the other one. There it goes. I'll make sure there are no sharp edges, nothing exposed on either end, that there could be no accidental ground connections. That looks pretty good. And make it hot. And that lets us have good ground connections in small places. And these are tin, so they don't fray as I put them in place. So this is nitpicky stuff, but there should be a tonal and reliability payoff for that. Well, this has very much been a ship-in-the-bottle experience. Very tight quarters, and a lot of tricky stuff to do well. And my goal here was to get it so that everything going to and from the pots and the switch was on the right, as far from this transformer as possible. And so when it's all folded together, this stuff should all dress away from here. Now, I have no guarantee that this will be an absolute fix for everything, because there's still that radiant field, and this stuff here is going to be physically fairly close to this transformer. I know that it will be greatly improved from how it has been. If you see the previous video, the bypass now no longer hums, which is great. And all the old wiring that was in here was microphonic. This stuff should not be. The other thing I did, this amp, or I'll call it an amp, this pedal, was apparently entered into the contest for who could put the most ground loops in a circuit. And I think they won, but I decided to take away that feature. They had just multiple paths from this chassis to this ground stuff, which is tied to this chassis, and you don't want that. So what I've done is I've got it so the audio ground is only transmitted from wires, from the ground point of this circuit to where the grounds are on the pots, etc., etc. And the top chassis and the pot casings will only be tied to ground as a shield. So there is no audio loop present anymore. And the pot casings are no longer part of the audio ground, and will just make a shield, which will make it a little bit noisier when it's up like this, unless someone tips in a wire from here to here, which will tie it all together. But when it's in place, it should be that much quieter, because ground loops don't just cause hums, they are also noise antennae. Also, this pot here, which is the gain pot, was physically loose. The shell of the pot was not clamping onto the wafer. And that's something I discovered once it wasn't under tension because of the casing ground connection. So that's all tightened up. That should be better. I'm going to redo the LED for the effect on after I'm sure all this works, and all this stuff will get some cable ties, neatening it all up and making sure it stays out of the way. I'm a little bit concerned about where the excess goes, because the way this is designed, there's excess that has to be there for it to open up in a clamshell. And then when you put it together like this, where does the excess go? So let's see how lucky we got. Looks pretty good. Let's see. Will it go together? It was never easy to put together to begin with, so. Okay, it's hitting right there. Looks like we're getting pretty lucky. All right, so I've got to open it back up to put the tubes in and then do some testing. All right, let's test this dirt box. First of all, here's the guitar straight into this 63 AC30. Now let's see how it sounds going through the bypassed box. So ever so slightly darker because there's an additional 20 feet of cable at play. It's something that some people wouldn't notice. The noise level, however, is the same. When bypassed, there is no more hum. You see the previous videos, that hum was terrible. So we've got now a fairly natural sound. If I had a buffer pedal right after this, so we didn't have a total cable length of almost 40 feet, it'd be pretty much the same. So that takes care of the bad hum we were getting with the box bypass. Let's turn it on. Okay, there's some white noise, and there's a slight hum, but it's nowhere near the level that it was. So that's actually pretty cool. Let's test the microphonics of the circuit with the tubes in it. Not too bad. That was some terrible playing. I think that's about as good as this can get, given how many things on that control panel have to be in proximity to that power transformer. But now with all the ground loops removed, with all the microphonic and noisy cabling removed, and all the signal wire steered as far away from the power transformer as possible, I think this is now a much more usable thing. So I think the owner will be very happy. Now, after all that work, I find out that the owner uses this in a true bypass loop. So the stuff I did to fix the bypass stuff Doesn't apply to his current rig, but it's nice to know that if his needs change, he could uh, use this just straight into an amp like this. And again, the problems this had were even worse when the pedal was engaged. It was very, very hummy, very grainy, lots of nasty things happening. So I think we're in a good place now.